Today's podcast is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. Apply today to become a member and immediately be connected with advertisers that fit your audience. That's podgo.co at podgo.co. And be sure to add the Slang Self-Doubt podcast in the How Did You Hear About Podgo section of the application. You're listening to the Slang Self-Doubt podcast, where we empower women of faith to identify, acknowledge, and accept their doubts and limits and beliefs in order to give birth to their God-given purpose. Join me and sometimes some of my friends on our journey as we remind you that you are not alone. I'm Felicia Wallace, and together we will find our fears and slay them. Welcome back to another episode of the Slang Self-Doubt podcast. I am here with Sommar Theodore from Jesus Be Knowin. Hey, Sommar, how are you?
Hey, Felicia, how are you doing?
I am doing amazing. So I told you offline that I really wanted to have you on the show last year, but I was being slam disobedient, and my audience already knows that I be out of pocket sometimes. So I am so glad that I was able
You're
to
not
just
the only one.
listen. I be out of order, and he be like, "Okay, keep playing around." So this time I saw you on the live, and I was listening in, and the Lord was like, "Now." I was like, "Okay." So I just went ahead and emailed her like during the whole thing. So I am so glad that you agreed to be here. And thank you again for just doing this. I'm so grateful.
Of course, I appreciate your obedience, because then it just opens the door for me to be able to come forward to your audience and us to chat and see what God has in store for this conversation. So I'm excited.
Yes. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started?
Sure. So again, my name is Sommar Theodore. I reside here in the DMV area.
Hey.
I'm a native of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, though. I was born and raised there. I am married. I have a wonderful son named Cairo, who will be 2 in June. He is a handful, but also a delight. Such a blessing.
Them twos, when they come.
Woo! I feel like we're already in there. I'm like,
they give you a running start.
The pre-2. You know what I mean? There's a pre-2, almost like a preteen. There's a pre-2 situation happening. But Jesus Be Knowin got started actually around 2016. You guys really didn't see it pop on the scene until 2019. We'll get into that a little bit more later. But it pretty much started from my friends in my accountability groups urging me to put the phrase on a t-shirt, because it was something that I said all the time. And I'm really good with one-liners. I have to admit that. So I always have something like quirky or quick or, even sometimes smart to say. And I always have like a good one-liner, and they're always telling me, you need to put these on shirts. But Jesus Be Knowin was the one.
Yeah.
And so, I went ahead and decided to try it out in 2017 Easter. Actually, it's Easter of 2017 with Easter coming up soon.
Wow.
I had some shirts locally printed. I gave them to some of my friends and family, and we went to church and wore them. And I did a beta test to see if anyone would like it. They loved it. People asked, "Hey, did you have any to sell right now?" And and I was like, "No, I don't have anything. Like it's coming soon. It's coming soon." And if you heard what I said earlier, that was Easter 2017, and then the coming soon, and by the time it got here was not until 2019. So there was a lot that happened in between that time and 2 years.
Well, listen, first of all, we are glad that Jesus Be Knowin is here, and we can wear it proudly, because it is a fact. Jesus Be Knowin. And it makes sense. Like, as soon as you hear it, like, you say the phrase and you know exactly what it is, and anybody can think of multiple times where they be like, Jesus Be Knowin, like this right here, like he was looking out right at this very moment.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Yes. So I have a feeling that I kind of know how this story is going to go, because it sounds very, very familiar. But I'm going to ask these questions anyway, because that's the whole point of this show of Slang Self-Doubt. Okay, so how has self-doubt showed up in your journey?
Look, Q is like
yeah, I don't have all the the noises I make them with my mouth.
It's all right. Everyone can imagine.
Right.
Let's use our imagination here. Listen, self-doubt was all up and through my origin story. The reason why it took that long for me to launch it was because I was leaning on my own understanding and I didn't believe in myself. As many times as my friends and my family would say, hey, Sommar, you need to go ahead and launch this. Where's this? Where's that? I was always procrastinating. I was telling myself there's so many t-shirt companies out here. Who else needs another t-shirt? And then I even had a couple friends say, I don't know if this will work because there are so many t-shirt companies. And at the time, it's like, well, at the time, graphic tees were really hot and they still are.
Yeah.
But it was like, is this going to fade away? Is this still going to be a trend? How long are you going to be able, how many t-shirts do you need with different graphic messages or, good messaging? So I had a lot, and really it didn't help what they said because I already felt like that myself. I was already feeding myself just negative thoughts and messages. So what happened was
y'all know this about to be good. What had happened was
what had happened was, we gotta lean into your to your earbud, guys. Lean in. So I got pregnant with my son and I had him in June of 2019. And I'm minding my own business that summer. We're bonding. My husband and I are bonding with him. Our family is helping. And then I just kept getting the urge. This is how I feel like people should know whether or not they need to move forward with a dream or a gift that God has given them. It just won't let you sleep. It just won't get off your back. You have something that's been nagging you. And so that was what was happening with JBK. And so I know I had to make the decision, okay, when am I going to launch this thing? And literally in August of 2019, I had friends sending me messages saying, hey, did you see this t-shirt? It looks very similar to Jesus Be Knowin. And it was a phrase that was similar. It wasn't Jesus Be Knowin, but other people had made another phrase that was very similar on t-shirts. Wow. And I was like, oh, I felt like God was like,
listen, you better grab it before I let it go. You better.
Listen, you better grab it. You better go for it. And then let me tell you something. It happened about 3 times.
Wow.
3 different people made this shirt. It was like 3 different people. And I said, oh, okay. He's not playing with me.
Yeah.
So it's whether or not you want to decide to see someone else birth the baby that you're meant to have.
Yeah.
Like it's like you giving your child away to someone when, like, if this was something you wanted yourself, if you wanted your child, but someone else said, no, you're not raising your child. Well, I'm going to raise it.
Right. Yeah. Or you ain't.
You're like, because you ain't ready. Yeah. You're not ready. I'm going to take this child. And you're like, but I want, no.
Yeah, just give me one more year. Listen, 5 more minutes, 10 more. You just keep prolonging it. No, listen.
And how many times have we had an idea, even if it was just, oh, I should make such and such. And then you see it out in the market. And like, I thought of that.
Yeah.
I just knew the question I had to ask myself, if I saw someone else raising this child, so to speak, Jesus Be Knowin, would I be upset?
Listen.
Would I be upset if God gave this to someone else? Because I think that's the one thing that we have all messed up. My girlfriend Rashida Banks has told me this and many others, that God does not give just you the idea. Yeah. He gives it to many people, and he wants to see who is going to be the bravest, the quickest, and the one that has the most faith to go forward and bring this dream to light for him. Yes. And if you're not going to be the one that does it, he's going to give it to someone else.
Give it to somebody else. He is going to give it to someone. Rashida's my girl too. We were in a small group together.
Yes, I love her.
I know, like, oh man, that's a whole separate conversation. Listen, like the glow up is real. Like it is.
Isn't it?
Yes, I'm just.
And she was on our IG live last night on.
Oh no! Oh yeah, I gotta watch the replay then.
Yes.
That's my girl. But no, what's something that you said, I always say this on the show that like we are quick to listen. So in talking about slaying self-doubt is literally you're right. It's the exact same thing. I believe that I knew that it was something that God was telling me to do, and I did like little steps. I wouldn't go all the way. I would It was like I knew the name, and I was like, okay, well, I know the name. Then it was like, okay, I'm gonna just make an Instagram page, and I'm gonna just post inspirational stuff on it, but I'm not really going to do anything with it, right? And it was little stuff that kept happening, and I remember Pastor Battle did a sermon on Moses, and usually when people are talking about Moses, they talk about how he was doubtful, they talk about how he kept telling God no, how he was like, nah, you could do this, and at the end of the day, he was like, you know what? There go Aaron, let Aaron, and everybody say like, Aaron's your helper. I said for me, Aaron was another person that he regardless, he took the message and went. Like Aaron came, he gave it to him, and he was like, go ahead. And I was like, I don't need an Aaron to take my. If Aaron came and took slaying self-doubt, I would be sick.
How sick would you be to see Aaron out here slaying self-doubt? And you sitting there like, man, that really could have been me.
Because I was over there saying, Lord, I stutter. Lord, and who gonna believe me? Lord, who's gonna want to hear from me? Who do I say sent me? Do I do this? Do I do a podcast? Do I not do a podcast? Do I do I put it on a t-shirt? Do I not put it on a t-shirt? Like you have and the thing about it is that doubt's gonna always come up no matter what. Whenever you're going into something new, it's gonna come up. And especially if it is your God-given purpose, because it's not yours. And so you can't do it in your own strength, which means that you need him. And so if he's telling you to go and you like, wait a minute, I'm not ready yet.
Right. Like, I'm not ready to jump off the cliff. Hold on. Where's my harness?
You trying to hold on to all these things. And he's saying, I got you. Like, if you, even in that story, every single time he kept showing Moses, like, okay, we'll do this. And then I'll show you I got. And then he still was like, well, no. Okay, listen. Eventually, he going to get fed up. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna have to, with all my faith and all of my, strength, I'm going to have to just walk fully into this because I didn't want to see it on anybody else. And let me tell you something, I be Googling sometimes to make sure I don't see.
You have to. You have to, because let me tell you, the moment I find someone else trying to sell Jesus Be Knowin t-shirts, I'm gonna say, Mama, I made it.
Yes.
Someone knocked us off. Now I get to send a cease and desist.
Yes. Oh man, that is so when you were bonding with your son and they kept coming back, you kept getting these confirmations. And I always say my confirmations come in 3 too. So you said 3 different times. Right. And so what was the very first move that you make that you said, okay, Doubt, you gonna have to sit down because I got to move?
So the great thing is I did a few things right in that 2-year process. One of my friends, Stephen Campbell, he made sure that and my other accountability groups, they were like, you have to at least protect it. So I did file for the trademark, and that was one thing that I did so no one would be able to really do much with it, even if they did decide, hey, I want to go ahead and put this on the t-shirt. I would be able to have some recourse in a sense. But yes, and then I did create like you said even earlier regarding slaying self-doubt, I created the Instagram and things like that, but I hadn't posted anything. It was just sitting there like, like the desert tumbleweeds flowing through. And I reached out to one of my girlfriends who prints t-shirts, and I had started talking to her just to see how the process can start working, because I wanted to hopefully work with a Black-owned business. And this was even great because she was a Black woman-owned business. And so she could start printing my shirts for me. And then I had to set a date. You have to set a date, guys. Like, you have to say, hey, and you have to stick with it, because otherwise you'll keep moving the bar. You'll keep finding excuses. You'll keep saying to yourself, oh, I'm not ready. It's not ready. It's not perfect. It will never be perfect.
Yeah.
Trust me. You keep perfecting it as you go along. You won't know what perfect looks like for your business, or even 85% right will look right for your business until you start trying different things. And it's not going to happen with you just sitting at home in your head. So I set a date for actually Black Friday, but I changed it to Small Business Saturday because I was like, oh, that seems a little better. Like, it seems more fitting to launch on Small Business Saturday. And we stuck with that date. We did pre-orders. We did so well, and it's been really growing ever since.
Yes. I love it. I love that. So what have you learned about yourself during this journey that you didn't know before?
That I am really a great leader. and that I can grow a business. I think I played small for so many years. I have friends and family that have always saw leadership skills in me and wanted me to push myself into the forefront. And I've done it in various ways in my life, whether it's being like the co-captain of the pom pom squad in high school, to being the lead of the mom group at church and dance and things like that. But when it came to running a business, because dance was so it was something that was came natural to me, and that was my outlet and my way to praise God, really. When it came to running a business, I have entrepreneurship in my family. I have my grandma, my great grandmother, my grandfather, they were all entrepreneurs. But to run a business yourself, is totally different. And to, see all this competition out here can be very intimidating. And so what I had to do was literally, when they tell you to put blinders on, and my new mantra I say to myself when I start veering off to the left or right and looking at everyone else's paper is like, keep your eyes on your own paper. Keep your eyes on your own paper. You can look to others for inspiration, but when I start spiraling a little bit outside of that, like, oh my goodness, well, she got this deal. Why haven't I gotten that? Or, oh, they have this many followers. Well, how come I don't have this many followers? And it seemed like she's like really producing a lot of orders over there. Why don't I have that? Stop. Everyone is going to have their moment in the sun. And what you need to be doing is keeping your eyes on your own paper and prepare for your season, because you don't want to get caught looking at other people's stuff and not being ready when it's time for you to shine. So that's what I am just learning in this process. And I learned that I really am a great leader and I can grow a business. And I know Jesus Be Knowin will be a multi-million-dollar business, because I feel that in my spirit, in my bones, and I want to make it happen, no matter how long it takes to get it done.
I agree with all of that. And one of the things that you said there, well, a few things that you said that resonated with me was it's a big deal jumping out here to create your own thing, right? When you're working for somebody else or somebody else's vision, if it don't work out, you be like, wasn't mine to begin with, right? Like you you have some accountability, but it's not like all on you, right? Exactly. And so when you are walking, when you're starting your own business and you're walking in entrepreneurship, everything is on you. You are every single role that you can think of. That is you until it's built. And a lot of times, we get stuck at the comparison, right? Or we get stuck at the doubtfulness, or we get stuck at the it's not moving fast enough. And the thing about it is that, like you said, it's going to be seasons and you have to be ready. You say, keep your eyes on your paper. I tell myself to mind my business. Actually, I tell myself to mind my blackhead bold business. Okay. My bald-headed black business. That's what I tell myself to do. I'd be like, Felicia, mind your bald-headed black business. Okay. That's all you can do is just focus on you. I cannot look to the left. Because the thing about it is that it's very easy to get distracted. Yes, we have the benefit of having social media and it's free advertisement, but that rabbit hole of looking at what people are doing and comparing yourself to it, it's real, and you can get caught in that very, very quickly. And I think for myself, I had to just continue to remind myself that, one, this wasn't about me. I was very clear that I never wanted to own a business. I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I've said this plenty of times on here that the year before God gave me slaying self-doubt, I distinctly remember having a conversation with my sister saying, oh, I could be a leader anyway. Like, but I don't want to own anything. It's too much responsibility. Wow. And then the very next year, the Lord said, okay, then. And I was just like, me? You?
He said, oh, so you think, oh, okay. He looked at you. He looked down at you like, "Oh, that's so cute, my child."
Right? Yeah, that's so cute.
Little do you know,
right? And I was just like, seriously. So when you take all these thoughts that you've had prior to you being given this purpose, and you know you put that all on your shoulders, right?
Yeah.
But realizing that, okay, this is not yours, it is his. It is what he gave you. I did not think of this. He is who I have to remember to stay connected to. So when I do find myself kind of getting lost in the sauce, I have to be like, okay, Lord, what you need me to do? Because a lot of times we once we get one good week, we be like, oh, okay, I got this.
We listen, and we have to understand there's ebbs and flows. And I love what you said, that this isn't mine. And I say it too. I've said this on Neighbor Check-In, for everyone listening. Jesus Be Knowin Instagram, we do Neighbor Check-In, which is our IG live every Monday where we check in with each other. And I have people on, and we have conversations and such like that. And which I feel like God just told me that you need to be on Neighbor Check-In.
Okay,
but we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. I was like, oh, okay, yes, absolutely. So, we're trying to be obedient in the moment.
Yes,
we're trying to do things when He tells us to do it. So I say that too. Like, I'm not building this by myself. First of all, this is God's gift.
Yeah.
And I think the moment that we try to hold on to it and make it ours is where we start going a little to the left or the right. Your ego gets a little puffed up. And I know there probably will be times that will happen. And you have to kind of humble yourself. Like, listen, this is actually God's gift that I am in charge of. Yeah. Just like even my child, I even said this to my husband before, Jamal. I was like, listen, Cairo is not ours. In a sense. He's God's child. He's allowing us to raise him.
Yeah.
And so the same with the gift. And it's like, I just want to be a great steward over what He has given me. And I need to be obedient in order for us to receive all the treasures in heaven that He has for us. Because one thing my cousin has said, can you imagine going to heaven and then seeing everything you could have had if you would have been obedient?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to be in that position.
No, not me.
And I've lived
either.
my life in fear so long. I'm like, listen, I'm out here. We might as well go for it.
Listen, that may be so. Two things that you just said. One was I'm out here made me think of Michael's Todd, the ankle series of In the Deep. He's like, so we out here.
We out here. I've been watching it too, and I love what he even said recently in his most recent message or series, is that when you're chasing the purpose, the paper is going to come. The paper chaser series. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like when you're chasing the money, when you're chasing the numbers, the likes, who is doing what, who's looking at me, then you're focused on the wrong thing. Absolutely. If you're literally keeping your eyes on your own paper or minding your business, minding your purpose, then all the money and all these other things are going to come. You just have to keep consistent and disciplined.
Yes, literally. Listen, and with that, so one of the other things that in both of those series, in the Anchor series and in the where's the Paper Chaser series? Yeah, paper. Yeah, both of these are if you're walking in purpose and you really take your hands off of it, you realize it, because I've had moments where I actually have been like, okay, God, I'm taking my hands off of this, and everything comes with ease. Right, because it's a natural flow. Yes. I'm not. You're not fighting against the current. You ain't doing none of that. It's just literally like, and you wondering like, how they know about me? How did somebody get this? Like, how did my name get spoken in that room?
Names or in rooms you haven't even stepped in,
and you be like, who? You be wanting to know who do they know that know me, that know them, that say that they want to come to.
Jesus be knowing.
And then that's exactly what you say. Jesus be knowing. Because I've had those moments where I said, okay, Lord, I'm going to just do what you say. And then like stuff just starts happening. And people start, and I told you, offline that like God told me to start interviewing people. And I was like, all right, Lord, I'm just going to pitch these people, and that's going to be it. And I won't say less than half of the people actually responded. But after that, because I was obedient, which is something that we're going to talk about next, because I was obedient, well, these other people started coming in. And I'm talking about, these were like people that were like already great in their fields. And I'm like, well, how did you find me? Like, and I'm like, okay, thank you, and it was just like, okay, all of these people that you're connecting me with intentionally and purposefully is all because of him. Like that was the biggest thing. And then the second thing, when you were saying how like when if we all we get to heaven and we realize all of these things that we could have, reminded me of the book that you suggested that I had on my desk for a while, but I've gotten through most of it now. The Big Leap, where he says, God's not going to ask you why weren't you Moses. God's going to ask me why I wasn't Felicia Wallace. God's going to ask you why you weren't Sommar Theodore. Like,
come on.
And then what do you say? It was like, well, what's
you
that?
You gonna be like the little kid that got caught with their hand in the cookie jar, like, oh Lord.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, right, exactly. So the question is, why aren't you? Like when you know that these things are exactly, you know that God has given you this. You know that this is your purpose. This is what you're supposed to be doing. And like you said in the beginning, you're going to get these promptings over, and it's going to continue to gnaw on you that you have to make this move, or you have to do whatever it is. And it doesn't always have to be business. It could be calling a person. It could be forgiveness. It could be giving. It could be so many things, but those are the natural things that when it just does not get off of your mind, that's how you know. And we're telling you, move, because the Lord gonna ask you why you wasn't you, and can't nobody answer for you but you.
That's the thing. We can't have a representative. You can't bring a lawyer in front of God and say, hey, can you plead this case for me? No, he wants to hear from you and why you didn't do it. And, I had to really dig deep. I've been in therapy for about 8 years now. I started a year after my grandmother on my mother's side passed, because we were very close. And it just, now it's just grown into this, you think you're only going for grieving, and then you end up like, oh, I have all these other things I really
and
need
it's
to
so
work
helpful.
on.
So helpful.
It is. It's very helpful. And over this last year, since we've been in the house mainly, I have really been working on myself. And it's hard work. It's not easy. And what I'm learning is that, there's things in our childhood, the ways that we were raised, oftentimes, and not often, but typically is right directed to how we are as adults, right?
Yeah,
so sometimes there's some things you need to really break down, fundamental things about yourself that you have to either ask yourself, God, or a therapist, or all three, really, and say, hey, why is it that I'm having this roadblock as to why I'm not moving forward with this? Why am I doubting myself? And it's typically tied to something in your childhood that you need to unravel. Because my therapist told me a few months ago, if you don't take care of what is going on in you, Sommar, the personal side of this, it's going to spill over to your business. And can you imagine all these things that you're dealing with? It's not going to allow you to grow your business. When you're folding your t-shirts, it's going to get into the shirts, and you're going to be shipping it to your customers. First of all, that convicted me, because I don't want any bad juju, emotions, notions, anything tied to me placed on a garment that I'm sending out to someone else to represent God. So I said, oh, well, let me get myself together. So, because I have a whole thing I do now before I even pack orders. I pray, I put on music, I get into a right great spirit and mood, just to make sure that I am giving out great energy when I'm shipping everybody's stuff out. And so, I just encourage people to really dig a little deeper to find out why they're not moving forward with their dream or gift that God gave them. There's a reason, because we know it's not easy. It's not just oh, you're lazy. And sometimes it could be as simple,
but that's
as
still
that.
That's a symptom. That's not, that's not the core thing, which is the first step in slaying self-doubt is identification. Like asking yourself, what is it that I'm afraid of? What are the things? And sometimes it is fear of failure. Sometimes it's fear of success. Like I feel like in this season that I'm in right now, because I've seen enough of what has happened and I've seen enough of what God can do, it's like, what if God actually gave me everything that I could ever ask for? That is scary. Like when you really think about it, like every time I think about it, I get goosebumps. Like I just be like, what if he really and sometimes that will paralyze you, and you will just stop right there because you feel like you're not deserving, or you feel like you're not worthy of all the things that he has for you, that you just be like, I'm good right here in my comfort zone. I'm not even about to do nothing else. I'm gonna just stay right. This is comfortable. Everybody good. We at 75 degrees.
We're at 75 degrees. I have a chilled beverage in my hand. You know, my feet is kicked up watching my favorite Netflix show. There's nothing's wrong here.
Everything's fine. We're good. We're comfortable. Yeah. And so when you think about, when we talk about exactly that, like really doing the self work to figure out like what are those things that are causing you from walking into your purpose, you have to do it's about self-awareness and doing the work to be able to really figure that out. And it is scary, you know what I'm saying? And it is, but the blessing behind both of those things of, whether I always recommend therapy, whether you work with a coach and a therapist or one or the other or both, having that support of somebody being able to hold space for you while you are actually figuring those things out, and being able to either forgive yourself for knowing what you don't know, and or allowing yourself to just be in that moment of knowing that maybe this is something, like letting myself know that I was afraid of. One of my biggest things when I first started this podcast was, I ain't the same person I was in 98, right? And I'm like, I'm just being honest. And I was
like, are you? Am
I listen, I've known that I've had some trifling ways, and I can be the first to admit that, right? And so one of my things was, what if my character is questioned? Like, what if I have people that's going to come against, and it was like, over and over, I wouldn't go but so far, and I wouldn't say but so much, because I was like, I want to be, oh, now you think you this, that, and the third. And I'm like, but this isn't about me. And God had to tell me, I need you to say that this is connected to me. I need you to let people know that this is me. Like, it was a big thing that I felt like I didn't want to say, God gave it to me, God did that, God, it was just like, well, Lord, I don't know. When I talk to people, I'll tell them, but I ain't want to make it blasted all over the website or anything like that. And it was just like, but that's the truth.
It's the truth. And what's wrong with that? I resonate with that. First of all, I resonate with two things you said, actually. What you said earlier regarding fear of success. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you guys, and I don't even know if I shared this with many people, but I think I haven't shared it with folks because when you're blessed with things, and then you may not question it, or you may just question, like, why is God blessing me with this? Then you don't want people looking at you like, oh, you're crazy. Like, God bless you with all this stuff. What are you questioning it for? But the fear of success is real. I think for so long I was in this like dark period where I felt so many things weren't going right for me, and I was supporting so many other people's dreams, and I was fine with doing that, but I also wanted my dreams to flourish and support and be supported as well. But at the end of the day, no one could support my dream because I didn't support it. No one could like have faith in my dream because I didn't have faith in it. And it's so interesting, when I started doing the work, really started doing the work on myself, I started seeing things happening. I got pregnant with my son, and then we actually moved into our dream home that I'm in right now. Right before, like 2 weeks before he was born. And after he was born, I was so overwhelmed. Like, how do I have all of this? Like, I couldn't even enjoy the house, which was crazy. I couldn't even enjoy the house. I'm like, this just doesn't feel right. And I'm looking for the other shoe to drop. And God's like, girl, I blessed y'all with these opportunities because y'all work for it. Like, it's okay. I think it's just recently within this panorama, as I like to say, that we're in, that I really have been able to sit in it, enjoy it, and thank God. But we have to make succeeding has to be normalized. And I don't even like using the term normalized anymore because it's so
everything has to be
it's everywhere right now. But it really is true. Like, I think we're scared to even celebrate our successes a lot of times in fear of what other people are going to think, or how we're going to make people feel because where they are. And you just have to really relish in it. First of all, celebrating your success also is a way to honor God. It's showing that you're showing others what God can do for them.
Absolutely.
And it's showing God how grateful you are to him for the things that he gave you. And so we have to do that. And then it's just in our nature to support other people, but you need to celebrate yourself.
Yes, that's a word for me. Thank you.
Yeah. Listen, isn't it hard to celebrate yourself a lot of times, though?
It is very, and I had my therapy session yesterday, and I had to tell my therapist, like, it's such a, like, I literally forgot. And I mentioned this on IG that I forgot that it was my 2-year podcast anniversary because
Wow. Well,
I
happy
would
anniversary.
thank you. But it was because I was literally in the midst of celebrating the others. So if you're, y'all should be connected by now to Slaying Self Doubt on Instagram. But for the month of March, I'm honoring women who shared their story on the podcast.
Yeah.
And so I was so focused on doing that I was like, oh yes, I'm gonna go ahead and do that later. And then what happens if usually later never comes because then I forget and then I'm on to the next thing as opposed to just stopping in that moment and saying, being present, right? And so I was telling her that I want to be present in every single moment of this journey. I don't want to get to the end and be like, how did I get here? You ever been on autopilot driving home from work and you be like, did I
remember how
run
you
any
pulled in
lights?
the garage? You're like, I'm in the garage. I'm in the driveway. I'm in front of the house. How did this happen?
You don't even know how you got there. All you know is you got in the car and now you're home. I don't want to be on autopilot. I want to experience everything. And so she's like, you got to slow down. You got to slow down your mind and you have to be intentional about knowing when those things are happening and just and celebrate it in that moment. So even when it comes to compliments, right? Like somebody say something to you, before I used to be like, and my old supervisor used to always say, whenever I tell you do something good, don't tell me why you like. I'm like, oh, I just Googled something. Oh, I just did this. And she's like, don't minimize it. And we don't realize that is exactly what. Now I just say, thank you. I received that. Thank you.
I say the same thing. Oh my gosh. Listen, I say the same thing. This is why we're here right now.
I know. I see. Listen,
I was horrible at receiving compliments. My ex-boyfriend, my high school and college sweetheart, he used to tell me that all the time. Like, don't, like, when I tell you you look beautiful, or if I tell you you look great, just take it. He was like, you cannot take a compliment. And that was back in my 20s. So now it's like, I'm about to turn 40 soon.
That's all right. That's all right. I had my 40th last year. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Okay, I'm in it. I'm
actually looking forward to it because, Lord, I'm just blessed to be here and we can share our stories. And I want women to know in our age bracket that it's never too late.
On top of the fact that we don't look 40, so it don't even matter. Okay,
let's start there. Look at the skin. Look at the skin.
Listen. Okay. I think Jay-Z said it before. 40 is the new 30. I was way younger then, and so I didn't believe him because I was like, 40 is old. But now I believe him. 40 is the new 30.
Right. Now that we're here, we can understand what he was talking about. But yeah, like, we just have to embrace it. It's just such a great thing.
Yes. So I want to talk about obedience because I feel like, well, that is my word for this year. And at the beginning of this, you said that was your word for this year.
It is.
How has obedience been how did obedience become your word?
By being disobedient.
Well, yeah.
So, Pastor Mike Todd, back in, was it October or November? It was the series before the FU series, and the FU guys,
the forgiveness
series. Yeah, forgive you. So
before that.
But he said something that stuck with me. That he said, slow obedience is disobedience. And also, Pastor Battle, he says,
the key to obedience is speed.
There we go. The key to obedience is speed. And so I was like, I'm not being obedient. And I just kept seeing and hearing obedience. So I was like, okay, Lord, clearly, like you said, first of all, the message that came in more in 3. So then I feel like he was really trying to get it to me.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I need to really be obedient because I feel like I'm even, like, as great as I feel like I'm doing with JBK, I could be doing better. Right. I can be quicker with this obedience. And I feel like our gift, or what he wants to give us, is on the other side of the obedience part.
Yeah.
Because what we do is try to lean on grace.
Yeah.
Oh, I know I didn't do what I was supposed to do, but we have grace.
Yes.
And God will forgive me. And it doesn't mean he doesn't forgive you, but it also doesn't mean that he doesn't have to give you what you want or what you think you deserve. It's just like a parent. Like, when your child does something that you do not like or is not good or not great, you say, hey, I forgive you, but it doesn't mean that I'm not taking your iPad away, or
exactly.
I'm not, or you don't get any TV for the
There's
next
still
2
gonna be
days.
some consequences.
There's still consequences. And I think that's the part that we miss. And I'll tell you guys a story. In December, I had a great, he made a great example of me. So he gave me this idea to have like a pick up and pull up situation for Christmas.
Okay.
Where people can order online and then pick up their gifts, from JBK in time for Christmas, because when the postal service at the time was very slow. It was trash. Hot trash. And then second, it was close to Christmas. It was like 2 weeks before Christmas, so it gave people time to get a last minute gift.
Yeah.
And I sat on it for almost like until the week of Christmas. Literally, Christmas was what, on a Thursday or Friday? I launched this thing on a Sunday before Christmas. And y'all, guess how many orders we received?
Oh.
That's my drum. 2 orders.
1, 2?
1, 2.
Oh no.
When I tell you, it humbled me so much. And all I felt, I wasn't even upset, because let me tell you, all summer, what I like to call her 1.5, 1.0 Summer would have been like, see, I knew this idea wouldn't work. You shouldn't have done it. And why would you even do this? And now you out here looking stupid and blah, 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 blah. But child, you have to take accountability.
Yes.
You didn't. God gave it to you 2 weeks before. He kept nagging me. It was almost like, when God wants you to do something. He kept nagging me every day. I could barely sleep. And I literally just went through the practice of launching it. One, what hindered me was that I really didn't know how to set it up, but I needed to just take time. By the time I figured it out, it only took me an hour. So then, how many times do we procrastinate on something that we don't know how to do?
Yes.
And then you figure it out and you're like, I procrastinated on this for 6 months and it took me 5 minutes to get it done.
Yeah.
And then he also said, listen, you weren't obedient. So it was so funny when one person came to pick up their order. I had a designated like safe spot for everyone to come to, and I was there. I gave her order, and she didn't leave right away in her car, so I had to sit in my car and act like I had more people coming for orders.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I sat in the car acting like, oh yeah, I'm going through and I'm just waiting for more people. I was literally just waiting for her to pull off, so I wouldn't look like I didn't have nothing else, no one else to wait on that day. No one else to wait on. But the lesson here is, I do believe if I had launched it earlier, that there would have been way more orders and we would have been blessed beyond measure. And we still were during that season, but I just had to eat my consequences and learn from the lesson. So, obedience is something that I'm really trying to get better at. It's a good test of faith. It's a good test of my discipline and my consistency, because that's really what people want to see from us. People are just not buying the product. First of all, Jesus Be Knowin is not just about a t-shirt. I call it at this point, I call it the carrot, or it's the cheese on the trap. You know what I mean? Like, oh, the Jesus Be Knowin shirt looks great, but then you get stuck into a community of people that are going to love on you and try to make sure you're okay, and we make sure each other are safe and make pay. Are you good over there? And we just build each other up. So at the end of the day, you have to understand that whatever the gift that God gave you, one, like we said, is not yours. And who else is waiting for this gift on the other side? If you are not going to put this out, then someone else can't get the message they need, the courage that they need. I love what Lovey Ajay Jones said recently with her newest book that she has out, Professional Troublemaker. Like, you have people that loan you courage. You need people to loan you courage. I feel like we're here, your platform, my platform, we're here to help loan people courage, because we have other people that loaned us courage.
Absolutely.
And as we climb the ladder, we'll invite more people to come in to give us the courage that we need to get to the next level, and vice versa.
Yeah. And I think so. A couple of things that you said. One about, and I say it often, that our obedience is connected to somebody somewhere, right?
It is.
When you are obedient in what it is that God has for you to do, the person who needs this message, right? Who needs this podcast, who needed to be reminded of the things that everything that we shared on this episode, it's going to propel somebody forward to say, okay,
Absolutely.
God, they're looking for something. And God says, I'm sending Sommar and Felicia to tell you, you need to move, right?
This is the sign.
This is the sign.
Anyone who's listening to this, the sign you were looking for, God,
is right here.
Move on this. It's here.
It's right here.
Hi.
Yes.
Sign.
And I think the beauty that I have been learning in this journey, because that's exactly what it is. Slaying self-doubt is a journey. It does not go away. It's not like you just,
the key, right?
Yeah, it doesn't.
That's the key.
It doesn't go away. This journey has connected me with so many other people. And I think the thing that has been missing, and as much as we don't like using the word normalize, but we have to normalize the journey, because a lot of people just see the end. Right?
Yeah.
They don't see the process. And what we're doing is showing them that we're not perfect. What we're doing is showing them is that we struggle. We have doubt. We doubt ourselves. We, we procrastinate. Or bojangling, whatever you want to call it. We be playing around. Sometimes we win. Sometimes we lose, and it's okay for us to be able to share those vulnerable moments to let other people know it's not going to be perfect. Everybody has a story. And so sharing our stories to get people to move, that's part of what God has called us to do. The same thing like you say, like, it's not just about slaying self-doubt. Slaying self-doubt is the community, because it's women out here who are saying, when I started this, I thought I was by myself. Right. And then I realized I'm not alone. Right. And this allowed me to be able to we're sharing our platforms for people to know that, like I said, as soon as I saw Jesus Be Knowin, you don't have to tell me the story. I already know, because it's a fact. He be knowing, right?
He be knowing, period.
He be knowing, period. And so when you get into that community, and like you said, I've watched a few of your Monday neighbor check-ins. I love that you call everybody neighbor. And it all makes sense, right? Like, I know that, like, turn to your neighbor. That's what.
Turn to your neighbor like we do in church and say, hey, I'm glad you. And I feel like it just gives it, like, when you say, hey neighbor, it just gives you a sense of, oh, we're in this together. We're in this community together. You know, you can spot each other. If you see someone in a Jesus Be Knowin shirt, or even the wristbands are great, guys.
Yes, I got them.
Yay. Yeah, the wristbands are great. I have to send you the Women Be Knowin one. I'm gonna
yes, okay. Because we do.
But it's important to be in community. We talked about this a little bit last night on Neighbor Check-In. A lot of times the doubt and the fear will fester in silence when you're just in the bubble by yourself. I think we've all been there, where you don't want to really tell someone that you're going through it, and you're suffering in silence. And that's not how God had intended this to be. He wants us to be in community, so we can be accountable to each other, and so that we can check on one another and make sure that we're all propelling forward in his kingdom. And he doesn't want any of us to do this alone. These communities that we're building are important. And I think we get in our heads like, well, there's thousands of communities and there's millions of Facebook groups, but there's not like yours. Someone is waiting on yours.
Yes, you are unique to the people who need you. Like, your people are out there. This is, I had to learn that. It took me a while for me to be able to say that slaying self-doubt, the people that God needs to be connected to slaying self-doubt, those are the people that listen. Those are the people that tune in. Those are the people that will respond. Those are the people. And I can't be worried about the people that aren't connected to this, because whomever God wants to be connected to me, that's up to him. Right. And I have this phrase written on my wall that I can't remember. I saw it on somebody's post somewhere, but it said, obedience is our responsibility. Outcome is God's.
Oh, that is great.
Yes. And so I'm like, it's been on my wall for about 2 years, right?
I need you to repeat that for everyone that needs to write it down along with me.
So what is it again? So obedience is your responsibility. Outcome is God's.
Come on.
And so that's basically another mind your business moment, right? Because we be so quick to try to figure out the end, like, okay, Lord, if I do this, then what's gonna come with it? That's not your job. That is not what you're supposed to do. Obedience is starting the business. Obedience is starting the podcast. Obedience is putting whatever that phrase is on that shirt. Obedience is applying to the job. Whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing, that's all you're responsible for. And and the thing about it is you won't get the outcome if you aren't obedient. And that was
you know what the problem is? We try to control the outcome.
Oh yeah, I already know I got control issues. Everybody on here already know that. It manifests throughout my entire life. Okay.
When we try to control this outcome, God sits there like, really? Or are we going to try to do this again?
It don't ever work. Not
it
never.
Never works.
Not never. And I think that one of the things that I feel like that in this moment, like this episode, if nothing else, guys, this episode should show you that obedience is literally the only thing that we should be doing, the only thing that we should be being focused on, because that's all that's literally all you have control over. Even if you want to change an outcome, and again, I mean that in any aspect, whether it's in school, at your job, in your relationship, in your marriage, with your children, the only person that you can change is yourself. You can influence other people, you can talk to them, but you can't force them to be any different than who they are. You can only do what you can do. And I think that even as entrepreneurs in our businesses, I can only do what I can do, and I need the support of my community to be able to help me when I need the help, and being okay with asking for help, which is a whole nother
episode. That is so important. It is. And I think and we touched on that too a little bit last night, but asking for help is crucial. And I think another piece I want to say to people is that if you have people in your life that seem stuck, and I know it can be very challenging for the person who wants to support that person, because I'm sure it was challenging at one point for my friends and family to support me. So you have all this talent and ability and you're sitting here not doing anything with it. It's because I was in my own head and thoughts and not in the best place. But don't give up on that person. Like, just keep feeding them the encouragement as much as you can. Just keep feeding them encouragement. And then when you do see that they're ready to move forward with the gift, just be there for them with open arms, saying, hey, I'm here to support you in any way possible, because that's important. You know, I think a lot of times we give up on people a little too soon. And I'm so grateful that I had no one give up on me. But when it comes down to it, people just want to see the best for you. And, you know, and it can be challenging sometimes when you're like, hey, this person is so talented and they're not doing anything with it. I can't believe they're wasting their gift. But it's their gift. And that's between them and God. And we can't control that. And all we can do is support them and love on them.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So, Sommar, thank you so much for this conversation. I know this was going to be a great conversation.
And I'm like, well, you knew we could talk. We're like, because we could talk for another hour.
Yes, absolutely. So, how can people connect with you in the Jesus Be Knowin community neighborhood?
Yes, you can connect with us on Instagram and on Facebook at Jesus Be Knowin. It's Jesus Be Knowin without the G at the end. You also can connect with us at www.jesusknowin.com. We drop capsule collections about every month in different colorways, so it's really fun and exciting. And then every Monday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, we have neighbor check-in, where I go live with some friends or even experts in their field, and we chat, or even by myself, and we talk and chat and check in with each other. And it was just really important for me to create that safe space for people. Mainly because during this time, I know it's very hard for everyone to be in the house. We're not connected physically with each other, but if we can at least be there with each other virtually, emotionally, mentally, I figured that, hey, we could get through this together, you know?
Yeah, no, I definitely understand that. This has been the longest. I was telling somebody else yesterday, I felt like 2020 we're a Marvel family, so we've watched every Marvel movie. And so I felt like in Infinity War, when they had the blip, like I feel like 2020 was the blip. Like we have a conversation with somebody, be like, last year, and be like, no, that was 2019. Was it? Well, what we do? I was like, oh, right, we was in the house, right? It's a whole blip. Like you just don't remember.
It's a whole blip. I just pray that everyone out there that's listening to this is safe. And I do pray that you decide to move on those dreams this year. A difference that a year can make. Yeah. Like you just celebrated 2 years. JBK will be 2 years in November this year. Yes. And the time goes by quickly, and I just want you guys to know that you can do it. Just take it one step at a time, one day at a time, and have a strong tribe around you, even if it's just one person. Just have your tribe around you, and you can do it.
Yes, thank you so much, Sommar. I truly appreciate it. I cannot. This was better than I could have hoped for, but this is exactly what God needed to happen today. So thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thanks, guys.
All right, y'all, that's all for this week. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to share, subscribe, rate, and review. Remember to head over to Facebook and Instagram and follow me at Slaying Self-Doubt. Oh, wait, don't forget, go to my YouTube channel and watch this episode, and remember to press the subscribe button. Until next week, see ya.